CIC, Citizens Involvement Council meeting for Monday, December 3rd. For those who are just tuning in for the first time, the CIC, Citizens Involvement Council, is a gathering of the representatives from the various neighborhoods across Oregon City, and this is their opportunity to communicate to each other and to the city situations they'd like to discuss, as well as for the city to hear from them. So with that, we'll start the roll call for this evening.
Thank you. So we have a new representative from Berkeley Hills tonight. His name is Tony Uzabunamuni. Sorry, I'm really bad at pronouncing it, but there's Tony there. So please welcome Tony from Berkeley Hills. He's the new chair for Berkeley Hills, and this is his first meeting, so we'd like to welcome him.
Before you continue, Tony, could you, since you're part of this group that's up here, could you sit up in the front so we can make you feel like you're part of your representatives up here?
Oh, he was using the table for his...
Oh, was he? Okay.
I'll be passing the wireless mic around, so as there's questions in the audience, please know that this is recorded, and you have to be using either the mic up here or the wireless mic that I'll put out here to be heard and on the recording. So that's really important that you're at a microphone when you're speaking.
Sorry, Tony, we just want to make sure you feel a part of the group up here since you're new.
Tony, could you pronounce your name so that we can do
Try
it?
Uzwebum. Okay, so then I also just heard word right before the meeting began that Howard Post is no longer the representative for Kanema. We have Michael Berman, so thank you, Michael, for stepping up and being the representative for Kanema, and he's here. So then I have Paul Edgar.
Here.
Larry Hanlon.
Here.
Rachel Gunderson.
Here.
Amy Wilhite.
Here.
Kathy Hogan.
Here.
Tom O'Brien.
Present.
Steve Anderson.
Here.
William Gifford.
Here.
Terry Powers is the new Main Street representative for the CIC, so please welcome Terry Powers, and she is back there.
Terry, do you want to step up to one of the front seats, too?
And then we have Bill Daniels is on the phone, so welcome, Bill. Are you there?
Here.
Okay. And Alice Watts.
Here.
Tom Geil.
Present.
And Steve Van Haverbeek couldn't be here tonight, so Linda is from the Park Place Neighborhood Association, and she will be in Steve's place, so welcome, Linda. Bruce Danielson. Eileen Olson.
President. Right?
Second that nomination.
Ingra Rickenbach.
Here.
David Rickenbach. Here. Steve Tame. And Todd Last.
Here.
And welcome, Todd. Todd is from the Tower Vista Neighborhood Association. He's the new co-chair. So welcome. This is his first CIC meeting.
So many changes. Isn't it?
And then we have John Lewis.
John?
Are you still here, John?
Well, we have a lot on tap for tonight, even though there's very little on tap. It's probably going to be drawn out a little bit. But we'd like to start by a special request by Commissioner Kathy Roth, who I believe attended a meeting recently.
Yes.
And about neighborhood safety. Is that it?
Yes. I just attended a 2-day workshop put on by the National Association of Sheriffs or something like that, and the Department of Justice. And what it was about was how to form neighborhood watch groups. And so I got a kit for every neighborhood in Oregon City. And what it is, it's got multiple DVDs. It's got all the posters, all the signs, all the books you're going to need to go through, everything. And what I thought I would do is go to each individual neighborhood and, have you people introduce me, and maybe we can talk about getting neighborhood watch programs going here in Oregon City. And we've got the kits in the car, so we'll bring them in. Okay?
He's coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Devil's in the
Did I see one of those earthquake preparedness in your hands or somebody's hands earlier? Ah, okay. Was that something you were going to address? Sure. Would you like to?
Are we going to do introductions from the back for people that don't know?
Good idea. When she's done.
So Tom O'Brien gave me one of these, and it's a neighborhood preparedness for emergencies. And I thought, and you put this if you're okay. From the neighborhood standpoint, I think the neighborhood associations are a great place to implement something like this, to talk to their neighbors and make sure that, there are point people on different streets to contact in case of an emergency, and, places to go. And in this pamphlet, it kind of lays it out. So what do you guys think about having something like this and discussing it with your neighbor?
You weren't properly introduced, but Commissioner Carol Pauley, for those watching.
Thank you.
The gentleman where that came from is the gentleman who came before us at the last meeting and talked about it and gave us a brief presentation. And then the following Wednesday, I came before the City Commission to tell the City Commission about that, because we think it's an excellent program. And I believe they handed those out to all the members here that they were going to go to their membership and talk about it. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. To say about it?
Those who want it.
Right, those who want it. Is there something beyond that that you think they should definitely do it? I mean, you want to encourage them?
Yes, I think that at the neighborhood level, it makes the most sense to be organized, like this, and to maybe assign point people. I can definitely, help with any of that if any neighborhood, wants help with that. But I think that would be, good steps. It's been said before, it's not, if we're going to have an earthquake, it's when. And to make sure that we really are a city that is prepared. And because our city is unique in the fact that it has these neighborhood associations, we could actually be organized and be prepared for this. So.
And beyond that, Carol, as I pointed out to the City Commission, on Hurricane Sandy, people had a week or more of a heads up. With an earthquake, you would have no idea. That's going to hit us without any preparedness. So if you're not prepared in advance and expecting it, then it's going to be probably too late. So, and he made a great presentation to us. So we're not going to have the opportunities they had on the East Coast, and we saw how devastated they were. Mm-hmm. So it's best that people
That's
start
right,
listening.
and it's been shown, disaster after disaster, that there's no way that the hospitals or emergency, crews can keep up with it. So it really does come down to your neighbors.
Even the government can't provide
That's
the
right.
services. They're busy. Mm-hmm. So I appreciate you reinforcing that to everyone here and through the City Commission, because I think that's pretty important.
Well, you have my support too if you want to help getting organized or anything like that.
It's funny, I mentioned that to
definitely believe
somebody
in that.
in our neighborhood. I said, you better even stockpile water. You never know. And they said, well, we have water. It comes right from the tower up there. I'm like, don't count on that. But thank you.
Carol, as you know, at our neighborhood association meeting, we asked the people who were in attendance if that's something that they would like for their future agenda. We're trying to arrange it for January meeting. One area I think you could be of help to us. There are a number of individuals out there in the region who have expertise in varying types of emergencies. Mm-hmm. And I would see, at least for our neighborhood, an ongoing educational process that might take several years. Maybe once a year or twice a year we have a speaker in, one on hazards, one on floods, one on earthquakes, one on... There are so many different things that we could potentially experience. And I'm sure there are experts in all those areas. I know that, looking for Ingra, the local LDS church had a day-long seminar with multiple presenters. That might be a good place to start ferreting out who some of the experts are, so to speak, in the region. They also had, I think, a 2-day seminar at the LDS church in Boring last year. So it's something that's becoming very aware to the general public, and I think, I agree with you, Oregon City residents need to be better informed in that area.
And empowered, yeah, definitely.
And
That's one area you could help us, is to
needless to say,
line up a list
sorry.
of who those people are.
Thank you.
Needless to say, the city last year did a earthquake symposiums, and we also did one on slides. I'm not sure if those are still available online on the city. They might be.
I believe they are.
We called a lot of experts together for that, and it wouldn't hurt to do those occasionally,
Yeah.
and not just one year. So I leave that to the next officers. And
Carol,
thank you, Carol.
Carol, I went to those, excuse me, those meetings that we had, the CIC sponsored it, and they were excellent. And the speakers always said, please let us know if you want any help within your neighborhoods to set this up. And it kind of just fell flat because nobody wanted to step up and really chair something like this.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you're bringing it up again, but I think it's going to take a little encouragement to the different neighborhoods for people to actually take charge and run with it. Because it's been presented many times before, and it's just not happening.
Haven't gotten organized.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
As William pointed out to me, we really didn't identify some of the other individuals out in the audience for the record and for William's minutes. So I believe Katie's bringing a microphone just so you can say your name if you're in one of the neighborhoods, or just so he knows who's been here.
You have to say that you're here.
Oh, I'm here. Chuck Roth.
Eloquent.
Duck Roth.
I'm Margie Hughes, and I live in Gaffney Lane.
I'm Gail Doyle. I'm the secretary for Berkeley Hills Neighborhood.
Welcome.
I'm Bob LaSalle from Park Place.
Still with us, Bill?
Doug Neely of McLaughlin.
Still with us, Bill?
Yeah.
Okay, just want to make sure.
Yeah, Bill Daniels from McLaughlin Neighborhood.
Just want to make sure you're still with us.
And if you have
Right across the street.
Right across the street.
Okay, and with that, we're going to move to approval of the minutes for November.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve November's minutes.
Second.
Okay. No changes, nothing? Okay. All those in favor of approving the minutes from the November CIC meeting?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Approved. Thank you. Santa Gifford. Under old business, I was going to talk about bylaws, but I guess that's down below under committee reports. Any old business beyond what's on the committee reports? Okay. New business. Any discussion items under new business before we move to?
Yes.
Okay.
I would like to discuss the downtown neighborhood area. We have had a lot of discussion this past week about representation from it, and Terry is appointed by a small subsection of downtown that's effectively an EID, and is part of Main
Define
Street.
EID for those who don't know.
An economic improvement district. And we have, if you take a look at this map of neighborhoods, there's a huge area, and that is, we call the Citizen Involvement Committee area. And this area is significantly greater in scope than the number of businesses and people. And I asked for advice and had a meeting with David Fraser on this. And one of the things that came out of the meeting was that the board of directors of Main Street, Oregon City, represent their area, but they don't represent all of the area. And so when we get into this, who represents and who has the authorization to appoint people to fill a position to cover Oregon City Shopping Center, the River Shore Hotel, all of the areas up and down through here that are outside of this area that's of the people that are part of the EID, significant. And I think that kind of the description I come back with was who has the responsibility to find or appoint somebody from this area. I think that this is a critical issue. Maybe we need multiple people. We have 2 people from virtually all the neighborhood associations right now. But in any event, we don't have in our bylaws that say Main Street area. They don't, in anywhere do they say Main Street, Oregon City. And we need to get it clarified as to how we get responsible representation from the whole area, not just from a small group. I think it needs to be part of something that we get discussed, because right now I'm not comfortable with Main Street, Oregon City having the sole ability to appoint somebody to be a representative to the CIC.
Are you saying something to discuss tonight, something to discuss?
I think it should be discussed right away, because it's as we go into some of this, we have people who is somebody formally appointed by a neighborhood, or how does somebody get appointed?
Okay, I see we have someone wanting to speak. William Gifford.
Paul, I think you were part of the whole reorganization of the CIC and the reestablishment of the CIC. When we set that up, and we were all just kind of feeling our way along, doing the best we could, we had 2 representatives from each neighborhood association. And perhaps it's another subject as to whether or not there should be 2 votes for each neighborhood association, which seems counterintuitive. I mean, if you have a vote that is representing a neighborhood, they should both be voting the same. So why not have 3 or 4? Why? It seems to me as though there should be 1 vote per neighborhood. So let me set that aside and say, in addition to the neighborhood associations, there was a concern that we bring in the voice of businesses as well, which is why we brought in the Chamber of Commerce. And at that time, Main Street, Oregon City, I don't know if Main Street, Oregon City as an organization at that time had been incorporated. It seems to me as though it was just in the stages of being, and it didn't have a name. But the intent was to bring the businesses from the Main Street, Oregon City, just like the Chamber members. Now, the Chamber doesn't represent every business in the city, and Main Street, Oregon City doesn't represent every business on Main Street or in that area, but it was the most organized way of getting a representative at that time. The other thing is that large area that you're talking about, the CIC, I think was left undesignated, as my understanding was, because of the lack of residences in that area. There's not a lot of people that live in that area. There's a few people that live up in Park Place, way up on the other side of 205. We don't really have a lot of residences on Main Street. I would say when we get more residences on Main Street, that would be an appropriate time to bring, to revisit that representation. But it was never really intended to represent the entire, Main Street, Oregon City, my understanding was never to represent the entire CIC area, which is what's shown on those maps.
Okay, I see, for the next speaker, I see Kathy, you must have pushed a button under another.
Yeah, I'm on another.
Another one, but I see Tom O'Brien up. I'll go with Tom, and if you want to switch it over to this, or do you want me to just call you after Tom? I just happen to see you over here.
Yeah, no, I want later.
Okay, I'll let Tom speak next.
I think I can add some clarity, but Kathy, can I use the computer down? Katie, can I use the computer here in the screen? Sure. Do that? Thank you.
I feel sorry
For Katie? Well, this type of a subject should be and it should be a regular agenda item, not just something.
welcome, but how are you?
remember, everyone up here needs to flip to presentation if you want to see what's on the.
To start, we have on the city's website something called the Citizen Involvement Council Downtown Neighborhood Association. That's what you see written here in red.
This is on the city website.
This is on the city website, which I would take to be somewhat official. The next map I'm going to show you is, I believe, a composite of what Paul was showing, and that is the large area here that twice is listed, and this is through the city's GIS mapping system, shows the Citizen Involvement Committee Neighborhood Association in the light pale blue, bluish green. You can see it includes a large area, including the area that's intending here pretty shortly to be developed in the Cove, that's going to have in excess of 300 new residences. The scale up here talks about the historic overlay district being the area here in green is outlined. The area outlined in blue represents the downtown economic improvement district, and the red boundary is the downtown, I read it, Main Street boundaries. So you can see that no matter whether you use the improvement district or you use the downtown, it does not adequately service people out who live along this area on Clackamas River Drive, anywhere along in here, some of the people who live in the neighborhoods here currently. But I think more importantly are two documents that we have, and these documents are meaningful in that they're what we all go by. Within the CIC document, our bylaws from which we operate, in Section 2, under Boundaries and Membership, you'll note that it says, Section 2, membership on CIC will include 2 neighborhood association appointed representatives 18 years of age or older from each recognized neighborhood association, and 1 representative each from Main Street area and the Oregon City Chamber of Commerce. No dues, et cetera, et cetera. But equally as important, I think, is the bylaws by which Main Street, Oregon City operates. And those bylaws, under Article 6, boundaries, the primary focus, finds Article 6 here, primary focus area of the downtown district is defined in Exhibit A attached. Well, they don't post the attachment on their website, so we're not certain what that is, but I strongly suspect that it coincides with what is shown here as their Appendix A. The further issuance of their document, their bylaws, under Article 8, the Board of Directors, the duties for that board are spelled out very explicitly, and nowhere in those duties does it state that they are responsible for assigning, appointing. Certainly I would think they're welcome to recommend, but there's nothing in there that says they are responsible for appointing someone to serve on the CIC. So I hope that clarifies things a little bit for folks.
Okay, I'm trying to flip back to the agenda here to see if anybody else wants to speak. I don't. Kathy, are you still wanting to speak?
Yes, I'll speak. I kind of agree with what Tom has found in the document.
Is your microphone on?
Sorry, hold on just a second. It'll be easier to hear you in just a minute. Sorry.
If I'm yelling at my husband, it works, but if it doesn't.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, I am like what Tom has shown us. So that gives us a clue of what really is in the bylaws. And I think that those other areas within the downtown area and the shopping center, they should be represented. And I think all the representation, all these people in that area should have the meeting and make the vote of who comes here and represents them.
Can I just ask a quick point of clarification? Does anyone know how many resident addresses or labels are actually
345 labels, if I recall right.
People who actually live in that area?
Or
Is that right?
have businesses.
Addresses where we're mailing.
Just wondering.
Yeah, so I do think that, it's important that they are included in the voting on who represents them.
See, historically, that used to be part of Park Place neighborhood, and they were included in that. At one point, Linda, didn't it?
Some of it.
Some of it was. I think some of those were residential, and then at some point, that became part of the CIC, and Park Place was kind of more up the hill from Holcomb. Is that correct, I believe, from what I remember?
Yeah.
Okay, Paul,
We just need to get it resolved as to what it is, and right now, to me, it's really difficult to turn around and say that a small group of people that effectively represent Main Street, Oregon City, of activists, in this sense, should have this exclusive right to be able to appoint somebody to represent this significantly larger area and significant larger group of businesses and residents. And I think that before we move on, I just think that that this should be held out until we have some committee gets convened or something that determines how we will in the future represent this whole area. And in fact, maybe it would be best that they become their own organized neighborhood, just like all the rest of the neighborhoods. But we've got to do something different than what we're doing and be representative of the whole area, not just a small group.
Alice, I have William up before you.
Okay.
William.
Rachel is the representative for the Chamber of Commerce. Is not the Oregon City Shopping Center a member of the Chamber of Commerce? It was a leading question. I know they are.
Well, then, yes, they are.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'm wondering if included in those addresses are not businesses in the Oregon City Shopping Center, which has representation through the chamber, and maybe it's not. Again, if the neighborhood associations were set up for neighbors more than just businesses, and until we have some people living downtown, it seems like it's a bit much to make an issue out of this at this point.
If someone could sign me up to speak here at some point, I could probably make this a lot easier
Thanks.
for everyone.
Can't hear you.
She's going to speak in a little bit, but we're going to. If you're done, I'll go to Alice. Alice.
Well, it would seem that the CIC bylaws are clear. We would like to have one person represent the Main Street Association, and it seems like that's what they're doing. I don't understand what the big snafu is. We can't control their bylaws. They can't control ours. We're two separate entities, is my understanding. So we've invited them. They're coming. I don't understand what the rub is.
Okay. Thanks, Alice. Mike, you're on next. Michael.
I might make this a little bit easier for all of you. The reason I think some of this came up was through working in the area, there's people that fall out of it. And in a year and a half time, I ran into people that said, well, who represents me? I said, well, as best I can see, we probably do. Over the last year and a half, there's been quite a bit of confusion over it. And I think that I brought it up several months ago, and then just recently, a couple months ago, I brought it up again. And I said, my friends that live over here on Forsyth have no representation. They never seem to have. My friends that have a marina have no representation. They never seem to have. And I don't know that what would be the population concentration that would merit them to have a representation. Is it 1? Do we need to wait till there's 3,000 people that live there? I think if there's a resident down there, they should have some kind of representation. And that's what I brought up. It wasn't very long after that I was released from my position, asked to leave, I guess. I don't know. They just decided, they sent me a letter and said I'm done, and a card. And so that's fine. I guess it's but I still have a business down there. And my friends that are outside of the red zone that have businesses down there, I still consider neighbors. They are still in the CIC area. And so we have this disconnect.
Myers trying to get through.
And that is the gist of where this all came up from. Who represents my friends and neighbors down here in these businesses?
Okay.
Who has the right to appoint them?
Okay. Next we go to Terry. Terry, why don't you step up to the microphone?
Hopefully this will clarify everything for everyone. When Mike was originally asked to join CIC, we had someone, and I won't name anyone, but it's one of you up there, came to Main Street, Oregon City and said, would you find a representative for this spot? Main Street, Oregon City did that in the form of Mike. So if we're asking who represents all of those people in that area, it's Mike. He has been doing that for 18 months as far as we know. Typically, Main Street, Oregon City has people come onto its board. We have a representative of the City Commission that is every year asked to sit on our board by the mayor. And our board approves that person, but certainly that recommendation comes from the mayor. Similarly, from the Chamber of Commerce. The Chamber recommends someone...
What do you mean the recommendation comes from the mayor?
For the city commissioner that sits on the Main Street, Oregon City board. The Chamber of Commerce recommends someone to sit on the Main Street, Oregon City board, and the board approves that person. We're treating this as the same way. So Main Street, Oregon City, in the course of its annual duties of asking people to sit on these boards, asked me to join the CIC. I said I would be willing to do that. It's as simple as that. If you don't want me here, no one has to approve me, and you won't hurt my feelings, I promise. If Main Street, Oregon City was released from any responsibility, and perhaps they misunderstood that it was a responsibility, but we were asked to recommend someone before, and they did that again. If you don't want Main Street, Oregon City to recommend that person, they will happily turn that over to anybody else that wants it. Does that help everyone? Okay.
Let's real quick make sure that Bill Daniels doesn't have anything to say before.
Bill, do you have anything to say about all this conversation?
No, I'm listening though.
Okay, just wanted to check in. We just wanted to check in with you.
Okay. So let me see. I guess the next person up, right there.
Does Main Street organization, is that just for the businesses
And the property owners.
in the area that was
The red area, I guess.
defined earlier?
So,
Yes.
So would it not be appropriate to have a representative from the Main Street area and then a representative for outside that area? Who decide? Is it the city that decided the neighborhood associations? Is it the
Tom,
city?
do you know the answer to that?
Who decides? I mean, what can we do? Can we just say, let's do it as a CIC, or does it need to go through the city?
According to the bylaws by which we operate, we are allowed one person to represent that entire large neighborhood association. We also have responsibility for any planning issues which go on in there, whether it be new development that's done at the shopping center, whether it's new development that's done at McDonald's, at Spicer Brothers, or whatever. The CIC is ultimately responsible for that area and has been acting in that capacity for a number of years. At the time I joined the council, there was a representative from the downtown area. I don't know if they were part of Main Street Oregon City or not.
Yes.
But our bylaws specifically state Main Street area, not Main Street Oregon City. And I think that's very clear, that it was intended to be the area that the CIC ultimately has full responsibility for. If we went to some merchants downtown or an organization downtown and asked them to come up with a recommendation, I think that's great. I think we ought to continue to utilize the resources that we have, people who know who's down there and who might do a diligent job. Because the one problem that we ran into in the past was that the person who was representing that area, in all the period of 2 years that they were on this council, showed up one time. And our own bylaws say that they should have been considered to be not willing to serve if they missed 5 meetings in the course of a year. They missed all but one in the course of 1 year and all meetings in the other year. So I think we went to the merchants downtown with the idea that they would know a responsible individual who would show up and represent that area. And that's when Michael came on board, and he has been doing that. So,
But we're still leaving out that whole other area.
no, that represents that area as well.
Oh,
That
we are-
represents everything. That represents, it just like the chamber represents the whole city, whether the chamber member is in the McLaughlin neighborhood, whether they're in the Berkeley Hills, whether they're, whatever neighborhood they're in, they still, in essence, get double representation because they get representation through the neighborhood as well as through the chamber. And I see this as not being any different. It's the responsibility of the person that has that role for that whole neighborhood.
And you're saying
association.
that the Main Street has the role to,
No, I'm
Or
saying
you're saying the
CIC has the, according to our bylaws and.
so we need someone
according to
here.
their bylaws as
So we
well.
should have someone here as I mean, who's the one representative from the CIC then?
There is
We
no,
won't have one right now because Michael has been told not to be that by Main Street. And that's really where the decision has to come in. And if that decision gets made tonight or some other time, I don't know. But I think that we have to set a policy that we know who is responsible for either approving any recommendations or that sort of thing, and put that into our bylaws as we move forward.
Alice.
I think I'm just going to sit and hold my thoughts. I don't understand. I think this isn't clear what we're discussing. First, I thought we were discussing how many representatives or who they send, and then I thought we were discussing the boundaries, and I'm not clear on what the issue is.
I guess I'm up. I'm no King Solomon, and I'm playing devil's advocate here. And because I don't know what the solution is, except and I'm hoping someone will decide that maybe this is an issue that you need to address in the coming year with a new administration. But to me, when I look at these, when it says Main Street area, that to me meant Main Street. And they're all right that there is a whole other section of that area down there that needs to be represented. And I'm wondering, I think we put in the fact that neighborhood had 2, kind of like representatives and senators in the Congress. You had 2 from each neighborhood, so they had a little bit more strength in their votes, where the businesses were not neighborhoods, but they got at least 1 vote, so they could be a part of what was going on, and we could hear from them and exchange communications. Again, looking at our own bylaws, it did say Main Street. To me, in my mind, that means Main Street. And I think that, again, the next administration, because I don't think we can resolve this tonight, needs to looking at our bylaws and saying we need representation for the whole CIC area. And I'm not sure if that's what all you are saying or not, but I think that there's a whole area that's not being represented. If, in fact, this refers to Oregon City Chamber and refers to Main Street, then we need something broader also
Okay.
And again, I think that's something for maybe a committee or what you gentlemen or ladies are suggesting, but somebody needs to tell us, what are you trying to propose tonight or say tonight? Should we say that should be a part of a committee to look into the future in January to start making these decisions?
I think we have to, clarify it because it certainly is.
Tonight or?
No, I think down the road.
Okay.
Because it's not clear. We know that as an organization, as a council, we have responsibility for that larger area.
Correct.
And we have been actively doing that. And the bylaws of Main Street, Oregon City very clearly stipulate that that's not their responsibility.
So what
it's
you're
not
saying,
even the area that they're covering.
So what you're saying tonight is the controversy is that Main Street has appointed their own for just Main Street
They've made
area,
an appointment
but not
for
the
which,
whole area.
well, they've made an appointment for which their
Maybe that
bylaws
helps
do not
you out.
provide.
Okay, that helps.
And I think that's part of what's going on.
And I think it's important to note that they were asked to do such. I think that we need to make sure we remember that.
Right.
But I think maybe the semantics of the Main Street Association versus our understanding on the CIC of what Main Street encompassed, maybe there was some blurring there.
I think that needs clarification.
So I think.
I'm
sorry.
And Tom, I think, I'm just to finish mine, is that sometimes maybe some of these other businesses does not feel that the Main Street Board is taking them in consideration and including them and letting them have a voice.
Not shirking any responsibility to make decisions tonight by this committee, by this council. I think that instead we need to have the next chair of this appoint a committee, just like we have for bylaws and other things, and have them look into it a little bit more thoroughly and what the impact of what these bylaws mean and what they should do about the whole area of the CIC down below all our neighborhoods. Does that sound appropriate? We can't resolve this tonight, and I think that's for the next administration. Yes, Mike?
I might make a suggestion that we ask the residents in this area through a mailing with the labels that we have, if they would like to, how they'd like to join this group. It does say Citizen Involvement Committee Neighborhood Association. The people that I know in the neighborhoods out there think they would prefer a different name for their neighborhood than that, because it's confusing.
Than the CIC.
Than the CIC. There's a CIC and then a CIC, and they're confused by that. But there are residences all through there, and there's going to be more, and there will be some in the downtown core at some point, hopefully. But the thing to remember is, just as the chamber has representation in many different neighborhoods through here, the CIC is a neighborhood, and within that CIC is a subset of the Main Street area. And within that subset, there is the EID. The EID partially funds Main Street, Oregon City. But not everybody in the EID pays into that. Some have opted not to do that. So it does get a little bit convoluted. And for people that have just been watching, it's probably more convoluted than they really care to be listening to right now.
Which is why I say that I think this needs to be looked at a little bit more thoroughly and really have a good discussion by a committee.
But I would suggest that we send a letter out to residences, to people within this entire region. If they are paying tax on a lot, or if they're renting, I guess maybe, but if they have representation or they need representation here, maybe we should wait long enough to hear back from them with some kind of a postcard or something.
I do know that the CIC itself, I know Nancy Walters, other people have told me about the history of that, and of course I've been here long enough to know it myself, but as I said earlier, Park Place was that whole area, and then they created this CIC. Initially, the whole CIC was supposed to be just the speak for that downtown, that whole region, and then the CIC more gravitated, or what's the word, I'm not sure, moved into being a council of all the neighborhoods. But originally I think it was supposed to be just the downtown area, but it's now all of us to watch over, I guess that. William?
I think the idea of moving this decision to the next year is probably the right way to handle this and let things sit the way they are for tonight. I want us to remember that the neighborhood associations were not formed by a bunch of citizens saying, hey, let's form a neighborhood association. They were formed by city ordinance. The mayor and the city commission were the ones that decided the boundaries with help from staff and with feedback from the neighbors, of course. But it was not just a self-regulated movement. There are official documents that state when the neighborhood associations were created by city ordinance.
Okay. Linda?
I think also that you should keep in mind in your deliberations is
Sorry,
that
can't hear you.
in your deliberations you should keep in mind that someone earlier said there's 345 labels there, and that would not at all be the same size as any of the neighborhood associations. So it's just something to keep in mind.
Okay. So with that, I think, I don't think this takes a proposal, a motion. I think it's just more those people over there keep losing their name tags. I think I'd like to pass this over to the next administration and make that under new business.
Check with Bill one more time.
Bill, do you have anything else to add to that conversation?
No, only I think my preference is that each neighborhood association have a representative and an alternate with one of those, and the representative has the voting power. And if he's not available that day, then the alternate would be making the vote, and they represent the wishes of the association.
So that would take a change of the bylaws, the way they're written. And again, I think leaving this to the next administration for the whole new group. We've got a lot of new representatives tonight, and for them to discuss this in the coming year as something to not to look forward to, but something to deal with. Are you all in agreement with that?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So with that, we'll move forward. Is there any other new business?
None.
Okay, elections. Before we do the elections, I just wanted to say a few words. And that was that as we do this, these new officers will take effect as of January. They won't step in and start in the middle of this meeting, so they start in January. But I do want to say it's been an honor, and it's been a wonderful experience to be on this committee for 4 years, or on this officer, 1 year as vice chair and 3 years as chair. I feel like I've been a commissioner almost in that. They served that long. But it's really been an experience, a learning experience. Our city's gone through a lot of upheaval, controversies, and some of them yet to be resolved. And I'm hoping that the neighborhood associations are so important. They're a key factor in communicating to the city government and the city government back to them. I hope the process works better. A lot of times neighborhood associations have these meetings and very few members of their actual neighborhood show up. And the neighborhood associations are only as effective as their own members right in their neighborhoods. And they need to hear from you. They need to have your participation. Some of them have been their leaders for eternity, huh, Kathy? But they need help. They need people to take their place. Kathy will be the first to say that. But they need people to take their place and step up and learn what they're doing. And so I really beg all the neighborhood associations, or members of the neighbors, to step up and do your part in each of the neighborhoods. They need fresh blood, but they also need people who are interested in their communities and who want to help and communicate with the city. So with that...
It looks like we have a speaker. Sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Oh,
Your
okay.
thing.
Excuse me. We're going to open up these elections. What we're going to do is we'll take nominations from the floor.
I'm ready.
We'll take nominations from the floor for chair, and then we'll have the elections, and then we'll take them for vice chair. We'll hold the election, and then for secretary, so that if someone maybe didn't make one of the other positions and they still wanted to serve in another capacity, they still have the opportunity to do so. So with that, I guess we'll open it up for chair.
That's me. I nominate Tom O'Brien for chair.
Okay, are you taking this record down, Katie?
And I second it.
Okay.
And Tom seconded that?
Yes.
Oh, no. Oh,
Paul did.
Sorry.
Next nomination for chair.
I nominate Larry Hanlon.
Okay.
I'd like to second that.
Okay, Steve seconds it. Are there any other nominations for chair? Yes, sir. Huh? Larry, he's already been nominated.
I I'll do one. I nominate Paul Edgar. Oh,
No.
He
denies it? No, I'm happy.
So we have 2 for chair.
He said no.
Any others?
I move the nominations close.
Thank you.
Oh, we got the secretary though, don't we?
No.
We just do
No,
one at
we're
a
just
time.
doing
We're doing
chair
chair
right
right
now.
now.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So right now, let me just read that back so that everyone understands where we're at. So nominated was Tom O'Brien, and that was nominated by Kathy Hogan, seconded by Paul Edgar. And then we had a nomination for Larry Hanlon, and that was by William Gifford. He nominated Larry Hanlon, and Steve Anderson seconded that.
Okay. And then Steve closed the nominations.
And Steve closed it.
Because this could have gone all night. Okay. So under the voting procedures, we're going to have people do a show of hands. Is that correct?
That's what we discussed at the last
Okay.
meeting.
Do you want to call the election?
So
or do you
why
want
don't?
to-
Oh, do you have a question?
Do they get to say anything? Can they make
Yes.
a little talk here first before we vote?
Thank you. Thank you.
Campaign speech.
I meant to do that.
Okay.
I thought about it before I got here.
You're so excited to be done that you just moved on.
Moving on.
Okay, so let's hear from Chair elect or whatever. Nominee. Thank you. Nominee Tom.
You got one on each side.
Yes, I do. Oh my God.
Step back. I'm not going to make any promises of what I'll do. I'll do my best. That's all I can say. You know, I think most of you know me well enough to know that I'm interested in the best thing for Oregon City, whatever that is, and I'll try to work with people to achieve that goal. There's some interesting item that I found down at the CIC office the other day that tells what the role and responsibilities for the neighborhood associations are. And in reflecting upon that, I think that we can do a far better job than what we have been doing.
Okay, nominee Larry.
First, I want to thank everyone for supporting me as vice chairman. It's been a tremendous learning process, and I would like to go on as chair. I think that I can work with you all and provide more of a harmony with our city council, our citizens, and the CIC. Thank you.
Okay. Katie, do you want to call the vote?
It looks like, are you asking to speak?
No.
Paul? Are you waiting for the next
Wait.
one? Okay, sorry. So I guess the easiest way to do it would be maybe I'll just go down the names or we actually said
just
show of
do a
hands.
show
So
of
if you
hands,
could,
right.
let's start with Tom O'Brien. If you could raise your hand if you're voting for Tom O'Brien, please. Raise your hand. And then could you leave him up until I get you down so that I can...
This is tough. This is tough.
Oh,
Tom votes for himself.
Yeah.
yes.
How would you do such a thing, Tom?
I did it to myself, too. Got everybody?
Hold on.
So 1, 2.
You got us?
Did you put your hands down?
Did you get Ingra and
Yeah, they
Dave?
both of them.
We voted.
Yeah, she got it.
1, 2, 3,
About
4,
Bill?
5, 6.
Bill, do you want to vote for Tom or Larry?
Larry Hanlon.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 9?
So I had Tom...
9. Okay. 9.
Okay.
So now we're voting for Larry Hanlon. If you could please raise your hand. And I got Bill Daniels on the phone. I have you for Larry Hanlon.
That's correct.
Okay. Tony.
One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's like
Is that 9? A tie?
10. 9, 10.
I got him. Okay. So you can go ahead and put your hands down. You got 10.
I got 10.
Okay. So I had 9 for Tom O'Brien and 10 for Larry Hanlon. So Larry then is the chair-elect.
Okay, are we ready to move to vice chair? Okay, can I have nominations for vice chair?
I nominate Michael
And
Berman?
I'll second it.
And I'll nominate Tom O'Brien.
And you'll second it, so we have...
Oh, wait. Stop. Sorry. So I got Michael Berman. I got Tom O'Brien.
Nominated by Paul.
Yeah.
And seconded by...
It was seconded by Tom O'Brien. And then Tom O'Brien was just nominated by, was it Kathy?
Kathy Hogan.
By Kathy Hogan. And who seconded that? Ingra. Okay.
And Alice nominates Steve Anderson.
Okay.
Do I hear a second for Steve?
I second it for Steve.
Okay.
Does anybody want to close?
Do we
those
have any other?
nominations?
Yeah.
Please.
Somebody want to move to close those nominations?
I'll move to close it.
Okay, so let me repeat this to make sure everyone has it down correctly. I have Michael Berman was nominated by Paul Edgar and seconded by Tom O'Brien. I have Tom O'Brien was nominated by Kathy Hogan, seconded by Ingra Rickenbach. Steve Anderson was nominated by Alice Watts and seconded by Larry Hanlon.
Do all of you accept those nominations?
I don't accept it.
You don't? Okay.
Thank you, though. Thank you.
So we have 2 nominees at this point. Is that correct?
Yes, that's
Okay.
correct.
So,
You want me to-
do you want to say anything again, Tom?
Amen.
Steve?
Am I on?
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I truly believe in this process. Just like anyone else that is part of a neighborhood, has a home, has a business, you wouldn't want anybody else to make decisions for your property, for your business. I feel that everyone should and deserves to be part of this process, of the neighborhood association process. It would be my intent to support the chair in any way possible and to stand in his or her absence.
It is. It's
Well, at this point, I guess. I'm not doubting your intent at all.
In case you make any changes.
But I truly would be a great supporter for this group. Thank you.
Okay. All right,
Okay.
Katie?
So, do you have a question quick? Yes. Okay, do you mind either coming up to the mic or using the mic over here? Thank you.
I was just counting the number of people who are voting, and aren't there just 18 people voting? So that can't be 9 to 10.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. The phone. 19,
Bill.
yes, 19.
Okay,
Sorry.
that's why I couldn't.
Yes, there you go.
Thank you.
Probably.
Okay, are we ready to begin?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and begin. For vice chair, we're going to start with Tom O'Brien. If you would like to vote for Tom O'Brien for vice chair, please raise your hand and keep them up until we're done.
God help me.
Are you voting? Okay, sorry, I want to make sure I get you here. Eileen.
amazing. Fine.
Yeah, what was that?
Okay, sorry.
My arm got tired.
Sorry, I just want to make sure.
Got tired.
Yeah, we got to ask the telephone.
Bill?
Bill, do you want to vote for Tom O'Brien or Steve Anderson?
Steve Anderson.
Okay, thank you.
That's what I got.
So now we will, if you could please raise your hand if you're voting for Steve Anderson. Please raise your hand.
Straightforward. 10. Almost predicted it.
Okay, so that is 9 votes for Tom O'Brien, 10 votes for Steve Anderson. So Steve Anderson is the vice chair-elect.
Now comes the toughie. Secretary. The job no one wants but everyone loves. Now, do I hear some nominations for secretary? Where's all the quick hands?
I might vote those two.
Tell me what the secretary does, William.
You mean officially or
nice.
in fact?
Yes, officially.
He talks in your left ear.
Officially,
I'm not wearing a Santa hat.
takes minutes of the monthly meetings and writes correspondence as directed by the council.
Ingrid.
I nominate Amy Wilhite.
I second that.
Amy, do you accept? Sure. Okay. Any other nominations for secretary?
I close nominations.
Boy, you were afraid, weren't you?
I did. Okay. Do you want to take the vote?
Is everyone agreed that it's closed?
I believe so.
Okay, then,
We only have one candidate.
yeah, we only have one candidate. Is there a need to vote on that, or, I mean?
Well, she should have some confirmation.
Okay, so let's go ahead, and if you could please raise your hands if you would like to vote for Amy Wilhite for secretary. Why, thank you.
You're popular.
Oh, ask Bill.
What about
Yeah.
Bill?
Bill, would you like to vote for Amy Wilhite for secretary?
I would.
Okay, then it's official. Amy Wilhite has been the secretary-elect. Thank you.
Okay. With that, the elections are done.
Can I read Amy what her responsibilities really are?
Oh, don't scare her.
Can I ask a question really quick?
Yes.
Nope, you already.
Too late.
It's not about this. I was looking at our bylaws, and it says that if a member isn't here for 2 unexcused or 5 regular in a year, then they are deemed to have vacated their position.
Exactly right.
So if someone is voting on phone that hasn't been here the whole time that I've been involved, does that mean they should have already vacated that position?
It's kind of late now.
Well,
I'm not sure.
no, I'm thinking that I'm questioning if this vote was valid.
I believe that Bill Daniels has been at one of the last 5 meetings here.
1, and not 12, or, I mean, how many out of 12 did he miss?
Well, the
If
other,
the bylaw says if
There
they've
have
missed
been
a total of
excused.
5 in a year, and that is counts excused, I don't know. I don't even know you, Bill. I'm not anything against you. I'm just questioning the bylaws that were put in front of me. I've never actually seen before.
Well, then I would question the procedure for doing so. I don't know that we have an official procedure for telling someone they're out.
We've done it. in
The
past.
bylaws say it.
We've never stood up to our bylaws because Bruce Danielson, who is a good friend of mine, is one of the worst offenders. He doesn't.
Yeah, like I said, I have nothing personal against anyone. I'm just questioning,
called to do this, and I questioned it too.
not just Bill. There's other. I'm sure there's others.
Well, the precedent has been set already. We do not stand strongly on that.
All right. So, as a secretary of the new, that's something I'd like to hold over for next year. Then if we're going to question some bylaws, we need to question them all.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you for that clarification.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Wish those kind of things would come up before we would have had the election. So we could have-
Honestly, I didn't. I just was reading it as.
Well,
I
if
was
you read the
ducking
bylaws,
for the-
last meeting, we should have done the nomination
Should have had a
committee,
nominating
and we didn't do that.
Yeah. So that is
Is
something
that
we
in
should
here? I
look
didn't think
at.
that was
Yes,
in here.
it is in
I
there.
know that's under neighborhood
We really should
rules.
have done it. You're right. We should have done it.
They've never.
That's great. We have goals to move
But they never
forward
did
and
that when I got nominated.
move up.
I was never nominated. It was
But
just
there were
at that
some
meeting.
people didn't want it. Nobody wanted it.
Yeah, twice it's happened now, and I ran against Larry the last time, but there was never a nominating committee. It was just somebody nominated me at that meeting. Okay, with that closed, let's move to the next item agenda. The ever exciting John Lewis for ASCO CPW. Sorry.
The only thing I think that I'll report to this committee that I know of is we submitted 2 grant applications through the state's STIP fund process. Don't ask me to recall what STIP stands for. State Transportation Improvement Program, I think is what that stands for. So the 2 projects included the next 5 blocks of Main Street, so 10th to 15th. And that was about a $2.6 million grant request. And Molalla Avenue from Beaver Creek Road, near Gentle Dental, if you're that intersection, Gentle Dental intersection, all the way to Highway 213. So it'd be doing the pedestrian and bike and median improvements like what we've done in the previous 2 phases of Molalla in that stretch of Molalla Avenue. And that was, I want to say oh, God, I'm forgetting the number. It was $6.3 million project. So those are 2 big projects that we hope to be successful with. There's a lot of competition. All the agencies are submitting many projects. There wasn't a big effort by agencies within Clackamas County to coordinate that, mostly because the process was really pretty undefined by ODOT until the last minute. So it was kind of a scramble to get everybody to get their applications together. But the only confirmation I've gotten so far, which is early, is that they received our application package and it is going to be submitted before the selection committee. So that's pretty big news. Hopefully the biggest news will be we'll actually get at least one of those grants.
And that stretch, if I'm trying to remember my boundaries here, that affects
Gaffney Lane, I know.
Gaffney Lane, Tower Vista, and Hillendale. Maybe not. No, not Tower Vista. It's just Gaffney Lane and Hillendale.
Okay.
I think that's right.
Trust your judgment on that. I don't recall the boundaries, but I know the intersection of Gaffney Lane's in the middle of that. So, so any questions?
John, I'm a newbie, and does the grant procedure that Holcomb, was that one of the ones that they were applying for too?
That grant application's due in December.
It's a different grant then.
It's a different grant.
Thank you.
We've been shortlisted on that grant, but there's still like 60 applicants. So what we're finding, so that's the Holcomb Boulevard project, which included mostly pedestrian improvements from the Holcomb School driveway on up to Winston. And, the initial estimate for that was quite a bit less, and we've looked at that in much more detail and more comprehensive, and we're probably going to phase that so that we can still do that, but we're inquiring whether or not we can ask for more, even though we are preliminary approved for a grant that was not to exceed $500,000. Not double dipping, just asking if we can apply for more or if that's our true limitation. So that's, I'm going to say that's December 13th due date.
Another issue, and I don't know if McLaughlin is going to mention it or not, but there was a traffic improvement in the McLaughlin area, in the stop sign.
Are you talking about by the library? Oh, and the crosswalks. Yes.
That came up last meeting. We talked about that last
Oh,
meeting.
we did.
So,
Okay.
yes, it's still there. The stop sign.
We didn't remove it.
I guess I know what else I'll report on. Tom and I talked about this a little bit. Tom O'Brien and I talked about this a little bit, but he had made a comment about concerns for signage at those flashing yellow left turn permissive signals. So I sent out an inquiry with the state and with the county and just internally with our own group, and there's gotten quite a series of responses on that. A lot of content about safety of those intersections and why they're here to stay, and some with regard to signage. So there's still some work to be done there, but I guess we've just gotten a good response of qualified people. The ODOT's lead signal technician and Clackamas County, their signage group as well. So we'll report back on that issue in a future meeting.
Thank you for pursuing that. Appreciate it, John.
Anything else, John?
That's all I got.
All right. Land Use Committee reports?
Nothing.
Okay. Next, Bylaw Revision Committee. Katie's going to tell you something here, but this is one of those projects I worked on. I remember I created, our team did this all last year and finally gave them to the city on August, to the City Commission for the attorney's review, and here it is December, and I was hoping to have completed these before I left. These are the template for the neighborhoods, incorporating some of the best of each neighborhood, and it looks like this will go into the new year with, and Katie will explain why.
Thank you. So I've received this directly from the city attorney's office, so I will just read it to you. It says, the CIC has expressed its concern about liability insurance and bylaws for the neighborhood associations in the city. Those concerns are understandable as the city looks to the neighborhood associations to provide an independent voice representing each of the local communities. The issue raises some thorny questions as we discussed before. Our current understanding is that the city does not provide liability insurance to the neighborhood associations because they are not officially organs of the city. The officially recognized citizen representation organ is the CIC. City staff understands that liability insurance would provide some assurance to people and that it might make it people more willing to serve in those important posts. However, there are other concerns, including potential increased costs for the city and decreased independence for those neighborhood associations that also must take into consideration. Given the importance of this issue, city staff will be taking this policy decision to the City Commission early next year to discuss the best course to make sure that the city receives the best independent input and allows neighborhood associations to do what they do best. We will continue to keep you updated on this issue. As of right now, we are tentatively scheduled for the January 8th City Commission work session, and as soon as we get the information from the City Attorney's Office, I will email that and the agenda packet stuff. I will email that out to the CIC so that you all can participate and be a part of that. And I will probably be discussing with the bylaw committee ahead of time from that, talking with them and bringing them in to discuss whatever the city attorney's office has to provide for us.
As far as I knew back at the time that they were ready to come before us, most of the wording of the templates were correct. They liked it. The attorney made a couple small changes, but I think the holdup is mainly the insurance. Is that correct?
Yes, but now from hearing tonight's discussion, there may be some other bylaws discussion before we actually want to put out a template.
Of course,
sounds like
these are
there's
the
some things-
CIC bylaws.
Right, but there might be some of
versus
those
neighborhoods.
things that apply to the
Yeah.
neighborhood associations as well that may need to be clarified a little bit more in depth to help out.
Correct. Okay. All right. So with that, we'll move into roundtable, and let's start around that side of the room. Marge, do you have anything to add to the good of the order? Kathy or Chuck? Okay. Right there, Jim. Let's just move around the room.
Nothing.
Steve?
Yes, sir, I do. A couple of things that we have taken care of in Hillendale, and an important thing that's coming up here. We have expressed our opinion on an improvement, land use improvement request from the county. They want to create a space for evidence storage and revise the security around that building in the, what section of the?
It's the Red Soils.
Red Soils campus. And we expressed concern that the type and size of fencing that they want to construct is against city code. We told them we understand the importance of having this facility where it is and the importance of the security measures that may be needed for this type of a facility, but it goes contrary to our city code, and it abuts a city park, which creates a visual problem. And they're talking about not only putting a chain link fence in, but adding slats.
A 12-foot.
Yeah, very, very large fence. So that's one of the issues that we have taken care of this past month. The second issue, we've all been kind of anticipating this and kind of wondering how long it's going to be until it happens. Well, it happened. I was contacted by the PR representative for Walmart, and they are starting to move on their permit process and requested to have a presentation for our neighborhood association. When we initially talked, we could not come to terms on a meeting date and a location. We left it to them on their schedule to schedule and create a venue for the presentation. And that was supposed to be the 12th of December. I contacted them over the weekend, or I sent a communique over the weekend asking if there's been any decision on where they're going to have it. And apparently they're running into the same situation that we in our neighborhood association run into. Not a good there's no good venues for evening meetings. So we did a little bit of research, and we also found out that there's a tremendous amount of interest within the city to participate or be at this presentation from Walmart. So we instantly knew that we're going to need a larger place than where we normally meet, which is in a meeting room at a church. So looking around, we did notice that the the Pioneer Community Center has a large meeting area, and we have today sent a communique to Walmart saying this is where we should meet. Give us a date. And they shot a communique back saying, well, let's just do it on your regular neighborhood association meeting day, which is supposed to be the 1st of January, but because of that, we pushed it back to the 8th. So, based on the availability of the Pioneer Community Center, we have a possibility of 3 dates to meet on, and I don't have a date for this body to work on. It's either going to be the 8th, the 12th, or the 14th, I believe. So once I hear back from Walmart or their representatives, then I will forward that information as fast as possible through Katie. She can send out a communique. But this is their first step in the land use process, and I would imagine they'd want to get moving on this pretty quickly. So when you see an email coming across about Walmart's presentation, be aware of it. Make your friends, neighbors, and family aware of it. If you are a stakeholder, if you have an opinion one way or the other, if you have questions, I would suggest you be at that meeting, at that presentation. That's
Do you
all.
know if this is for just for a grocery that they had once upon? That's just for the grocery.
60,000 square foot.
Right. Okay.
And what's the location where they want to build it?
It's on Malala, directly across from Safeway.
Same. That's the same place they've always wanted it.
Well, they own it.
They own that land.
They own that
They
land.
do. Okay.
Oh, the place that they own the land off of Malala Avenue, right?
Yes, ma'am. I believe that's all I have for right now. Oh, we have a steering committee tomorrow evening, 6:30 at Mazatlan. Not in Mazatlan.
Oh, shucks.
Well, our budget's a little bit short for this year.
Katie?
Okay, I do have a couple of just quick announcements here. The library is partnering with the Clackamas Community College, and they have, again, their First Friday's film is this Friday, December 7th at the Pioneer Center, 6:30. The name of it is going to be A Man Named Pearl. Then they also have a family holiday movie night. It's Thursday, December 13th, and that's at 6:30, and that is at the library. And I just wanted to remind everyone that Conversation with Commissioners is Wednesday, December 12th. That's from 6:30 to 8:30 at the Rivershore Hotel, and this one is going to be with Kathy Roth and David Frazier. And that's all I have.
Okay. John Lewis, anything further? William?
No.
Larry?
Caulfield neighborhood is very pleased with J.T. Smith Development. They have kept their construction site very clean. They've hired a security firm to cruise the neighborhood throughout the night, and we have had zero, I don't know what the police have had, but we've had zero complaints as far as our new neighbors, and we support them.
You finished?
Yes.
There was one other incident I needed to report that, was it the Monday before last that it rained so dreadfully hard, just coming down in buckets. 7 o'clock in the morning, I go out to walk the dog, and both of my car doors are open on the driver's side. And the insides, the glove box had all been rifled. So, okay, so went down, found out a neighbor had the same situation in his car. He had left his door open. They went through the car. I got a call in the afternoon from a neighbor around the corner, and he had found some of the papers that had been taken out of our car under his carport where someone had stolen 2 of his bicycles. So, yeah, we are fastidious about locking our doors. That night, my wife got home at 5:15, was planning on going out at 6:15, was pouring down rain. She says, I'm coming right back out. Why should I lock the door? Her meeting was canceled because of downed power lines down on Warner Parrott. Her meeting was canceled, so she didn't go back out, and of course, it slipped her mind. So the car was unlocked. Be careful.
There was no valuable CIC papers in there, was there?
All of them.
Okay, do something a little bit different rather than keep going this way. We're going to go out to the audience and come back this way. So I'm last. Have anything to add to the good of the order out there?
No, I'm fine.
Anybody? Bob, Terry, Tony, Doug, Rick Box, Linda.
You know me, I have something to say. Park Place neighborhood is, the next steering committee is Monday, January 21st. Next general meeting is February 25th. Those are both at the Red Community Building off of Holcomb. Also, I wanted you all to know that Park Place neighborhood is supporting Lions vision and hearing testing at Holcomb School tomorrow, both by financial gift and by a number of the people in the steering committee are going to volunteer. And I encourage you to do some of that or something like that in your neighborhood. And then the third thing I'd like to say is I've not noticed anybody thanking the officers for their service, and I would like to do that. Thank you for all that you've done.
Alice.
The McLaughlin neighborhood meets this Thursday at 7 in the fire hall. It is a steering committee meeting, so I would then focus on our February meeting as a general meeting if anyone would like to attend. and that one would be the 2nd of February at the fire hall at 7. And I don't know who the speakers will be yet.
Amy?
Our next meeting for Gaffney Lane will be in January, and I was wondering if anyone, we have an attendance problem there. There's not very many people that like to come. And I was thinking of, and I wondered if anybody else has ever done a door prize to draw people.
Yes.
Did that help?
If you make notification on the invitation letter or card, whatever you sent out, what we've done is bring the card for a drawing.
$100 prizes work.
Oh, yeah. Well, I just thought I'd hit up some of our business partners in our...
Yeah, I started it a year or so ago.
Okay. Thank you.
Mike? Kathy?
I'm going to defer to Tom, but I would like to thank him for all the help he has done and what he's accomplished within the meetings, the attendance, and the part that they've all helped.
Tom O'Brien?
Yes.
Why is he leaving?
He's not leaving.
Okay.
It's December. She's thankful.
Okay. Paul?
I'd like to give a lot of credit to Howard Post, the Kenema neighborhood chair. When he heard that Mike had received this letter from the Main Street organization, he felt Mike's service should be continued in the CIC, and as well as I did, and it was nice that Howard felt that Mike would be a good complement to the debate and discussions that go on, and so I want to really thank Howard for his choice of doing that and having making sure we have quality debate, quality discussions going on.
Okay. Tom?
Yes, I'd like to report on our last neighborhood association meeting. We had 5 very important people there to work with us and help us. 2 city commissioners, Commissioner Pauly and Commissioner Roth. We had our police liaison officer, who introduced himself and gave a little background on the liaison program and how he would be available to assist in whatever way he could, and he plans on attending all of our future meetings. He actually was taking time off from babysitting at home that evening, which was a major responsibility that he shouldn't have probably done.
Maybe wanted it.
We also had representatives there, Steve and Pete Walter, Steve from Kogan. In any case, the people who are chosen to head up the South End Concept Plan. They went into some detail and really got some, I think, excellent input from the members of our community as to what their thoughts were as to why the community, what they like about the community today and what they think could be done to improve the community. And we also had a presentation from Alita regarding the Water Bureau issues. And so it was a nicely attended meeting. I think it was very beneficial to our neighborhood representatives to have the opportunity to both meet city commissioners, perhaps for the first time for some of them, and also to understand better what's going to be impacting our particular Hazel Grove Westling Farm neighborhood. So we thank you.
And again, I just want to thank everyone for these past 4 years. It's been a wonderful experience, and I'll miss sitting in the mayor's chair. Does it say mayor? No. It's been interesting getting to know all of you and enjoyable. So at this point, I wish everyone a happy holiday, Merry Christmas, Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, my birthday, and New Year's Eve. And
in that order?
In that order. I'm New Year's Eve.
How about the end of the Mayan calendar?
Right. Oh, God, December 21st. I forgot. My birthday won't happen. Anyway, with that, I sign off for the last time, and thank you all for your attendance. Have a good end of the year and New Year's Eve. Go Ducks. Oh, I guess the Beavers too.